What the heck? Fox, look behind you! Somebody's gonna pay for all this.
I know it's tradition at this point that Samus starts off most of her adventures with none of her previous power-ups, but from all the explanation given to us in the games, this is definitely the silliest one. In Echoes, her gear somehow gets stolen by the Ing. Fusion basically forces Samus to switch into a new armor because of parasites. And in Other M, she just doesn't feel like using any of her weapons.
What?
But in the first Prime game, the one game that basically introduced me into the franchise, has Samus lose all of her cool weapons after an explosion knocks her against the wall and whoops, there goes my morph ball. And my 10-year-old self stared at the screen and went, okay, I guess? Ooh, gotta chase that dragon, yay! The Metroid series has introduced us to some very creative power-ups that change the way we traverse through the planets we explore and how we engage with its environments, such as the Ice Beam that turns enemies into convenient platforms, or the iconic Morph Ball to get around narrow passages. But obviously the most noticeable of all of these items has to be Samus's ever so iconic Varia Suit. I mean, after all, it's what we see in nearly every cover of the games and even on the ad campaigns as well. It basically established itself as the default look for the character. So much so that once armorless Samus was added into the roster of Super Smash Bros., they had to give it a different name just so that players had a way to distinguish between the two. You know, besides having them look completely different from each other. So as we look through the extensive collections of armors used by the Hunter in her many journeys, I think the best place to start is with, well, her Zero Suit. As I mentioned in the past, this look first debuted back in Metroid Zero Mission, and became the standard outfit for Samus to wear underneath her armor, alongside an emergency paralyzer pistol that can stun enemies for a brief moment. While it doesn't grant her any special abilities, the suit features 3 distinctive Chozo symbols that make it feel attached in some way with the alien race. But the Zero Suit's most distinct function is that it is actually connected to her Power Suit, allowing Samus to summon her armor at will, as seen in Metroid Other M. The Power Suit essentially is the base form of Samus's armor with no additional upgrades, which was given to her by the Chozo on planet Sebes during her training at an early age. This armor is usually the default suit that Samus starts off her adventures in, and has been present in every game of the franchise, with the exception of the Prime series, where it's only really featured during the first installment of the main trilogy. The Power Suit's main function is to protect Samus during combat, as well as supplying her with firepower via the arm cannon. But the most important feature of the armor comes in the form of its ability to be upgraded with additional weaponry to help its user survive any encounter. An interesting piece of trivia is that in Metroid Prime 2 you can come across an enemy known as a Respite in Sanctuary Fortress that can infect Samus with a virus, forcing her to reboot some of the suit's functions. After the reboot, a message will be displayed containing what seems to be the serial number of the armor, which reads as Chozo Battlesuit version SA14468 VM6P. The Varia Suit, as I led on to before, is the most iconic armor of the entire series, with its large round shoulders, bulkier chest plate, and the added orange colors to the standard Power Suit's palette. In the original NES game, this armor was a simple color change from the Power Suit, but with its sequel being released in the original Game Boy's lime green screen, the Varia Suit was given a bulkier design to make it visually different from the standard Power Suit. Its name derives from a mistranslation of the word barrier, since it serves the purpose to protect Samus from deadly substances such as the acid found in Brinstar. The suit does not only boost Samus's overall defenses, but it also protects her from either extreme heat or sub-zero temperatures, allowing her to explore otherwise harsh environments. And this defense is increased even further after you manage to collect the Gravity Suit, which usually is the last armor collected in the 2D games. This suit's change has been represented most of the time as a simple palette swap of the Varia Suit, changing its orange sections into violet, as well as making the green visor and lights into blue. Samus Returns, however, features a slight redesign of the armor with some additional lights to give it a bit more of a unique look. The Gravity Suit's main ability is to allow Samus to move normally in any environment with abnormal gravity, as well as through liquid environments. The suit also protects her from damage caused by lava in the 2D games, and grants you with a clearer vision while submerged in water in Metroid Prime. However, while you do gain the Gravity Suit with its benefits in Metroid Other M, the power-up does not change the overall look of the armor, and instead gave you a pinkish aura around the Varia Suit to symbolize whenever it's active. This decision perhaps was made by the developers to preserve the classic color scheme of Samus during the game's many cutscenes. After defeating the Omega Pirate in Metroid Prime, Samus is exposed to a large amount of the radioactive Phazon that infuses itself with the armor, thus creating the Phazon Suit. This new upgrade grants Samus with even more defenses, while at the same time making her completely immune to the dangerous substance. And not to mention adding that darker color scheme to the suit that just looks really cool. The suit is also able to access the extremely powerful Phazon Beam during the final fight against the Metroid Prime. And after finishing the battle, the core is somehow able to steal the Phazon Suit from Samus and fuses itself with the armor, which results in the creation of the sinister Dark Samus. Later on, Samus would find herself traveling to planet Aether during the events of Metroid Prime 2, and after fighting the Guardian Amorbis, we are granted with a mysterious Dark Suit, which features a different style of shoulder pads and a much more muted color scheme. This armor was created by the Luminoth as a way to protect themselves against the toxic air of Dark Aether, and be able to stand a chance in combat as they attempted to free their world from the shadows brought by the Ing. In the hands of Samus, the Dark Suit drastically reduces the amount of damage you take from Dark Aether's atmosphere, and can later be upgraded with a gravity boost to have it simulate some of the abilities given to you by the Gravity Suit. However, once Samus manages to restore the light of Aether, she's able to infuse her armor with the light itself to create a perfect fusion of Luminoth and Chozo technology in the form of the Light Suit. This armor features a much more sleek and streamlined design with some rather dangerous looking kneecaps, and many holes are capable of producing the same energy as the one from the light of Aether, rendering Samus completely invulnerable to the Dark Dimension's atmosphere, as well as allowing her to travel between the planet's many temples through the use of some light shafts. Once Samus defeats the Emperor Ing, she returns the Light Suit alongside the energy stolen by the Dark creature, thus securing the future for the planet and the Luminoth. Meanwhile, in the Norian system, the Federation find themselves at war against the Space Pirates, who have found a way to weaponize the Phazon and intend to use it to take over the galaxy. During the pirate invasion on Norian, Dark Samus manages to corrupt the Hunters with a virus that will make their bodies produce Phazon. This prompts the Federation to rebuild Samus' armor so that she can safely contain the Phazon growing inside her and utilize it to boost her combat capabilities. This results in the creation of the Phazon Enhancement Device Suit, or P.E.D Suit for short. The machinery used to create this armor was based off captured space pirate technology, but its design resembles more of a mix between the Varia Suit and the armor used by the Federation troopers. The P.E.D Suit allows Samus to enter a state called Hyper Mode, where she basically becomes invincible and her arsenal is powered by the Phazon inside her. However, misuse of this can result in the user becoming completely corrupted by the Phazon, or in other terms have their minds completely controlled by the substance, as well as Dark Samus, which makes the P.E.D Suit sort of a double-edged sword. You later can also collect an upgrade in the form of the Hazard Shield that creates a barrier that protects Samus from things such as the acid rain in the pirate homeworld or the fuel gel found in Brio. While escorting a biological research team on the surface of planet SR-388, Samus finds herself getting infected by a strange parasite known as the X that threatened her life. The only cure that was found was to use the DNA collected from the baby Metroid aboard the Space Station Ceres to create a vaccine that would purge the parasite, since the Metroids are the natural predators of the X. Of course, all of this works perfectly because bird magic. However, most of the organic components of the power suit ended becoming completely infected by the X, and so Samus found herself in the newly introduced Fusion Suit. This suit can be considered as a redesign of the classic power suit, since it has all the same basic functions, and you can still upgrade it later on with the Varia Suit and Gravity Suit. However, this time around, the armor allows Samus to absorb the X parasites she encounters to replenish her health and gain new abilities, at the expense of making her incredibly weak to ice due to the Metroid's DNA inside of her.
Metroids can't tolerate cold temperatures. They couldn't survive in this environment.
This new design sports a much more slim look compared to the traditional armor, but its added details make it resemble a Metroid of sorts, such as the 3 orbs in the back that resembles the Metroid's internal nuclei, the helmet area resembling the creature's talons, and the 3 blades on the left arm that could be reminiscent of either the Metroid's teeth or the crest seen in the Chozo's arms. While you'll never return to the classic design armor in Metroid Fusion, the surviving X-Parasite remaining in some of the portions of the original Varia Suit morphed together to become an X-clone of Samus that plays the role of the main antagonist, most commonly known as the SAX. The Fusion Suit also makes an appearance in Metroid Prime as a bonus for linking the game with a copy of Metroid Fusion on the Game Boy, as well as in Samus Returns as a special unlock given by the Metroid Amiibo. Without counting the base functions provided by the standard power suit, I think some of the most useful armors come in the form of the Varia Suit for its resistance to extreme temperatures, the Gravity Suit since it allows us to move normally in any situation, and the P.E.D Suit for the ridiculous power you get while in hyper mode. From a design standpoint, however, I've always been a fan of the way the Dark Suit kinda resembles a Luminov, and the Fusion Suit for just how different its silhouette is from the traditional armors. And the Gravity Suit because, well, it's a bluer version of the Varia Suit, and I really like the color blue. The one in Samus Returns looks really cool. One thing that I adore about these designs is that no matter how different they might look from each other, all the armors still share similar traits that make them feel like they do belong to the same person. And I've always appreciated how much Samus' armor has changed over the years, with each iteration managing to create an image that resembles the atmosphere of every mission, and I am really excited to see how this might be applied to the upcoming Metroid Prime 4. From the general shape of the visor, to the tubes on the helmet, to the pronounced shape of the shoulders and that ever so iconic arm cannon, all of these details come together to form the iconic heroic look of one of gaming's most recognizable characters. That just helps resemble how mysterious and deadly are the many worlds that she explores on her journeys.